Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Sarah and this is Like So Amazing. So today's video is actually a tutorial and it's been highly requested. So I am a great advocate of the Tilly and the Buttons Agnes top pattern. So it's this one here. And I've made several of the tops, all different sort of sleeve lengths and with the ruching, without the ruching. I've made a dress version and I've also made quite a few vests out of this pattern as well, because I find the fit of the bodice really good. So I decided that I would hack it into a vest. So lots of people have asked me how I've done this, so I am going to show you my method for doing it. So all you need is the front pattern piece. So I will show you how I do it. Now I do construct my Agnes tops using a serger or an overlocker, so I don't use the sewing machine at all. And I also use a cover stitch machine to do the neckband, the armholes and the hem. Now, if you don't have a serger or a cover stitch, you can still do this. Obviously you can just use a stretch stitch on your normal sewing machine to do the seams, and you can just turn the hems over and use maybe a zigzag stitch or a decorative stitch. As long as it's got enough stretch that the stitches aren't going to pop, you'll be absolutely fine. But the way I do it with the overlocker and the cover stitch machine, it just gives a really professional finish. And I know I'm really fortunate to have both those machines, and they are a luxury, but they're what I've got, so obviously I want to use them. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed the video and I hope you find it useful, and I'll see you at the end. So in order to create the Agnes vest hack, you're going to need the following. So you'll need your Agnes pattern. You're going to need some tracing carbon paper. I use this Burda style paper just because it's really nice and big. You're going to need a tracing wheel. You can either have a smooth one or a serrated one, and some pattern paper. So firstly, get your pattern paper laid out, and then you're going to need your carbon paper. And you lay that face down onto the pattern paper. Then you lay your pattern piece on top, and I'm going to use some pattern weights to weight this down. Just make sure it's all nice and smooth. And then you're going to trace round the appropriate size. And don't forget to make sure you mark all of the appropriate notches. So there we have the Agnes bodice front. And I'm just going to mark mine. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to just scoop out the armhole. So I've just drawn a curved line around here, and that's at its widest about 6 or 7 mils. And then so for the front bodice part, we're going to leave that neckline exactly as it is, and for the back we're just going to draw just as deep a scoop as you want. So this one is 2.5 centimeters down, so that's quite a good rough guide. So then what we can do is cut out this piece. Now if you want to, you can just cut out the front piece exactly as is, and you can trace off another piece for the back, or what I usually do is just cut 2 front pieces from the fabric, and then I just shave that section off of the fabric directly. It's completely up to you, whatever's easiest. You might choose to shorten the top at this point, or again just wait until you've cut it out to see what sort of length you want it. And it's completely up to you. You can cut out the neckband piece as well if you would rather bind the neckband, but I'm going to show you a method for using the cover stitch, which means you don't need an additional neckband. Okay, so now you need to lay out your fabric. I've got this adorable cat face jersey, and the very special thing about this fabric is that it glows in the dark. When it gets dark, the cat's eyes glow, which is amazing. Anyway, what I've done is just folded it over, and to make sure that I've got it central, I like to pick a design feature and make sure that is running down the crease. So in this case, I've chosen the cat's noses, so I know that that is on the straight, and this piece needs to be cut on the fold. So I'm just going to place that down carefully and use my pattern weights. Okay, so I'm happy with the placement of that. And now I'm going to cut this out. So this is the front piece. And don't forget to cut any notches. I always make sure I cut the centre front as well, even if the pattern doesn't tell you to. So that is your front pattern piece. And for creating the back, all I'm going to do is just scoop that out there. So I'm just going to go straight in with my rotary cutter and just cut that curved line. And if I look on my pattern piece, that's about what I had sort of estimated. So then that would be your back piece, and you'll cut another front without that scoop. Okay, so now for the construction. So you're going to match up your shoulder seams, and when I am serging directly rather than sewing using the sewing machine first, I always like to pin this way around so that I don't accidentally serge over my pins. I have done that before and it's dreadful. And with the Agnes, I'm happy with the fit, so I just go ahead and serge it straight away. So don't forget to do it at 5/8 of an inch, that's the seam allowance. and you can just press those to the back. Then you're going to match up these side seams. And then we're going to serge the side seams. So that's the basic vest constructed, and now what I'm going to do is to finish off the armhole, the neckline and the hem. So I'm going to use a cover stitch machine for this. You can use a normal sewing machine on a zigzag stitch, but I'm lucky enough to have a cover stitch machine, so that's my preferred method of finishing. So what we need to do is decide on how much we're going to turn over. I tend to go for about 5/8 of an inch. That works out nicely for me. So, quick tip, when using a cover stitch, you want to have the pins facing in the direction that you're going to pull them out. Now you don't necessarily have to pin with the pins on top. It's useful certainly for the first pin to do that, but it's actually much easier to pin from the back of the fabric. But as long as you have that pin facing the direction you're going in, you can just whip in and get that pin out from underneath as you approach it. So I tend to do this by eye. You can use a seam gauge if you feel you need to. But I do tend to use a lot of pins as well, just to make sure that it's all staying in place, because with a cover stitch there isn't really a seam guide as such. You can buy magnetic seam guides for them. I don't have one for mine. You want to make sure you're keeping that hem as even as possible. And then you're going to do exactly the same for the armholes. Okay, so it's all pinned, so I'm going to get my cover stitch machine out and get that set up. Okay, so here's my cover stitch machine. This is the Janome Cover Pro 2000 CPX. So this is the entry-level machine. It works really well though, I can't fault it. So I will just quickly run you through how to set it up. So you start with the lower thread, so you need to put it through the tension discs, pop it through there, then you need to make sure that these levers all line up and thread all the way through the 3 of them. Then it's pretty self-explanatory, you just need to follow the guides. So through that bottom section, and then thread the top lever, and you can pull that out, and then you need to thread through the actual needle. You can close that up. Now I like to make sure that I've got 2 matching threads for the top of the garment, the side you're going to see. The other thread can be a different colour if you choose. So unlike a serger where you tend to thread it right to left, you actually thread this left to right. So I'll put the first one in first, and that just goes around here. It's, as I said, it's fairly self-explanatory to thread it. I always find tweezers help. And the second one goes through, and it follows exactly the same channel as the previous one. Okay, so that is both of those threaded up. And I'm going to start on the hem. So you need to make sure that your pins are out of the way. So I'll take this first one out and make sure that I'm clearing that first pin, because if they get caught up it can be slightly problematic. So I'm going to use the edge of my foot here as the guide. I know through practice that that will catch the underlayer of fabric. So I'll take that pin out as well in advance. And then you stitch, and then you stitch. Now when you come to seams, you may just need to give it a little bit of help to get over that seam. Just go slowly. And you should be able to see there, that's the back of the fabric. So it's a stretchy stitch, and that's the front, but I'll show you a close-up in a second. Now of course you can just choose to turn this over as you go, but I just think you get a more accurate seam allowance when you do it this way. So you see, because you've got your pins facing this way, they're really easy to just take out before you get there. And I'm right round to the end again. Now, a little tip that I was taught: if you take these two threads and pull them apart, it's going to show you where you need to stitch past, so to make sure that you've gone far enough, because you can't see, this foot is blocking your vision. You also need to line up these two lines of stitches with where your needles are positioned, and that will ensure that you get a smooth join. So I can see that my needles have gone past this line. So then you need to draw your needles up, take your presser foot up, and then you're going to need something to help you get the threads out. So a pair of tweezers is really helpful. You just cut and then you pull your work out to the back. And you can see that it's gone nicely over there now. And then what you can do is, on the inside, you're going to knot all of your threads together. you can just trim that down. And then on the front, you just trim those ones down. And that way, that's not going to go anywhere. And it produces a really nice stretchy stitch. And you can see that I've caught everything on the wrong side of the garment. So you'll see this finish in ready to wear clothes all the time. So that's how it's done. So I'm now going to use the cover stitch to do exactly the same on the armholes and the neckline. And I'll be back with you after that. So there you go. It really is a quick and easy make for me. It takes less than an hour to make one of these vests. So here you go. Here's the finished article. So I'll put a picture in of me wearing it as well. So you can see everything is neatly stitched and all looking nice on the inside too. So yeah, really pleased with how this turned out, and I can add this to my collection. Can't wait to wear it as a kind of PJ top, because obviously glow in the dark, it's going to be amazing. I've got some of this fabric left in the shop as well, so I'll link that below if you're interested in buying the fabric. And some of the tools as well that I supply, I can pop them in the description as well. So there you go. Let me know if there are any other videos that you'd like me to do, any more tutorials, and let me know how you get on with this. I hope it's really helpful, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks so much. Bye bye.